So we're at 1820. If your book is like mine, that's page 716. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Sarva bhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajjnanam vidhi sattvikam sarvabhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajjnanam vidhi sattvikam sarvabhuteshu in all living entities. Yena, by which. Ekam, one. Bhavam, situation. Avyayam, imperishable. Ikshate, one sees. Avibhaktam, undivided. Vibhakteshu, in the numberless divided. Tat, that. Jnanam, knowledge. Vidhi, know. Sattvikam, in the mode of goodness. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. Then if you move up, there you go. Good. Purport. Then everything has its downside. You'll tolerate. A person who sees one spirit soul in every living being, whether a demigod, human being, animal, bird, beast, aquatic, or plant, possesses knowledge in the mode of goodness. In all living entities, one spirit soul is there, although they have different bodies in terms of their previous work. As described in the 7th chapter, the manifestation of the living force in every body is due to the superior nature of the Supreme Lord. Thus, to see that one superior nature, that living force in every body, is to see in the mode of goodness. That living energy is imperishable, although the bodies are perishable. Differences are perceived in terms of the body because there are many forms of material existence in conditional life. Differences are perceived in terms of the body because there are many forms of material existence in conditional life. The living force appears to be divided. Such impersonal knowledge is an aspect of self-realization. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Now this verse follows on from 18. Jnanam Gayam Parigyata Trividha Karma Chodana Karanam Karma Karteti Trividha Karma Sangraha. Krishna says that there are three factors that motivate action: knowledge, that which is to be known, and the knower. Then in 19 he says that there are three kinds of knowledge and action, karma, and karta, performers of action. Tridhaiva gunabhedata, according to the three modes of nature. Prochate gunasankhyanē yatava. So now I'll explain. So now Krishna is beginning his explanation of knowledge in three modes of nature, starting with sattva-gun, the mode of goodness. So sarvabhutenshu yenaikam, the person in the mode of goodness sees that there's one all-pervading spiritual nature. As explained in the next verse, in the mode of passion, they think that there are different kinds of beings. The scientists think this way, the materialists think this way. There's, there's horses, and there's fish, and there's plants, and they're all different. They're all different. And their consciousness is developed because they have different kinds of nervous systems, or they don't have a nervous system, or whatever it is. So they think that the living entity has evolved from material conditions, or consciousness, so-called consciousness, has evolved from material conditions, where it proceeds from bodily existence. And so there are different kinds of living beings, horses and trees and so on. This is knowledge in the mode of passion, confused knowledge. And in the mode of ignorance, there is no knowledge. There's just work. So, but in the mode of goodness, there's this understanding. Sarvabhuteshu, in all creatures, all living beings, yenaikam, there's one bhavam avyayam, undivided spiritual nature. The same consciousness that's present in you is also present in me. It's also present in the plant, it's also present in the tree, it's also present in the fish and the bird. All living beings have the same conscious energy pervading them. Therefore it's said, Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihashtani shuni chaiva shapakecha pandita samadarsha. The learned person sees that all of these living beings are the same. He doesn't distinguish between the Brahmin, the cow, the elephant, the dog eater. He sees them with equal vision. They're all spiritual living beings. One time I brought Srila Prabhupada a plate of prasadam and for his lunch, and some big black ants had started crawling on the plate. So I started to brush them off, and Prabhupada said no. He said, let them play. He said, they are also living entities. Well, this is the vision, not that they're ants. I'm a human being and they're ants. No, they're also, what is that? elsewhere it said, Atmopamyena sarvatra Pashyan, what is it, Yorjana? Samam pashyati Yorjana, Sukham va yadiva dukam, sayogi padamomata. The yogi, the best yogi, Krishna says, sees in this way. He sees all living beings by comparison to himself. Atmopamyena, sarvatra, everywhere. Atmopamyena, samam pashyati, he sees them all equally. Sukham va yadiva dukam, in their happiness, in their distress. He thinks that I wouldn't want to be tortured. Why should I torture some insect or some animal? I want to be happy. Don't they also want to be happy? He sees that the same spiritual nature is there in all of them. He doesn't distinguish that they're just, they have no soul. They're just automatons. They're just some sort of robot or some sort of physical entity. But there's no consciousness there. No. If you're hurt, you'll cry. If they're hurt, they'll cry. Prabhupada saw one time in New Vrindavan that the devotees had bought a cow, first cow. Lokanath Swami ki jai. Jai. Yeah, that side, huh? Oh.
He wanted to come, I'm going to be there.
Okay.
Sorry, bring this up now.
The Padayatra will be in Varshana on Govardhan Puja. Thank you. I'm supposed to be in Govardhan that day.
Not far.
Not far.
What's happening?
So Prabhupada saw that they'd purchased this cow, I think the first cow they got there, but they hadn't purchased the calf. They didn't have the money, or somehow they couldn't get the calf. So the cow was crying. Big tears. I was there. The cow was crying. So, and then you say the cow is just a robot. It's just they have no soul. So if you lose your child, you'll cry. So the cow's lost its child. The cow is crying because the same happiness, the same distress is there in all living entities. Not that the human beings are so special that they have feelings and that nobody else has feelings. All the sarvabhuteshu, all the living beings, the same living force is there. You want to live, try and step on a cockroach. It runs away because it also wants to live. All living beings, that's one of their features. They want to live. By nature, we're eternal, and we want to live forever. So you try to swat a mosquito, you try to step on a cockroach, you try to... all these living beings will try to go on living, just as we try to go on living. Because the same consciousness is there in the mosquito, in the cockroach, in the dog, in the human being. So a person in the mode of goodness sees that. How am I different from all of these other living beings? Atmopamyena, by comparison to himself, he sees the oneness of all living beings in their happiness and their distress. That's his spiritual vision. Avibhakta bhavam avyayam. He sees the imperishable nature of every living being. The body will be finished. That's for sure. But the consciousness, najayate mriyate va. It's not created, it's not destroyed, it's not born, it doesn't die. It's avyaya. Avyaya means inexhaustible. always existing. Bhavam. Bhava means it's nature. Its nature is that it's spiritual, therefore it's inexhaustible. Avibhaktam vibhakteshu. It's the same spiritual nature. What is that? Aparayam itastvanyam prakriti vidhi me priram jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Krishna says, I have my material energies, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, gross energies, subtle material energies. Aparayam itastvanyam. But I also have another energy, which is superior. Jiva bhuta mahabaho. The living being. Jiva bhuta mahabaho. Yayedam dharyate jagat. Dharyate has, Prabhupada gives two ways. One meaning is that they're upholding the universe. The whole universe is running because the living beings are keeping it going. It's going for our benefit. And another meaning is struggling. We're struggling with this material energy. Oh, this is the superior nature. Prabhupada, when he talks about that in the purport. As described in the 7th chapter, the manifestation of the living force in every body is due to the superior nature of the Supreme Lord. It doesn't mean due to his superiority, it means because he has these two natures, the inferior and the superior, two energies. So the superior nature or superior energy is Jiva Shakti, the living entity. So avibhakta, it's undivided. What is that in the Bhagavad-Gita? You can't cut it. You can't blow it away. What is that? Nainam chintanti shastrani. Nainam chintanti. You can't cut the soul. So, in one sense, the soul, there's one undivided spiritual energy, Krishna's energy. Prabhupada gives the example of money. The government treasury is really one. They don't really have education money and penal department money and road work money and this money, that money. It's really just money. Just one big stock of money in the bank. But then the government deploys this money for the prison, this money for the college, this money for the roads, this money for the courts. And then it gets divided up. But really it's all money. It's not that if you look at it you'll see this is college money, this is prison money. Avibhakta. It's undivided. It's Krishna's one spiritual energy. But that spiritual energy, vibhakteshu, is differently invested in every body. There's a different living being because there's individuality. Prabhupada mentions that the vision described here is impersonal. You see, so people, in the mode of goodness, without further understanding, they think that everything is one. There's really no difference between you and me. We're all one. We're all the same. There's one, like Prabhupada used to sign his letters, "Your ever well-wisher." And wasn't one other Swamiji, he used to sign his letters, "Your own true self." Your own true self. You get a letter from your own true self. So this is the impersonal vision that myself, yourself, they're all the same self, or maybe we're all that self, we're all the supreme self. We've just forgotten that we're the supreme because we're consciousness, because we're immortal. Tattvamasi, you are that. Eka Brahma Tatviya Nasti, there's only one absolute truth, not no second absolute truth, and you are that absolute truth. I and you and all living beings. So they ekatvam manupashata. All the emphasis is on one. That's the impersonal vision. So there's something to that, because we're all of the same nature. Someone's in a woman's body, someone's in a man's body, someone's in a young body, old body, tree body, plant body, dog body. But we're all the same. The outward appearances are illusory or superficial. These bodies are like the bodies that we have in a dream. When you wake up, it's gone. So there's no, and the relationships in terms of the body are also dream relationships. We have another life, or another identity in terms of our spiritual nature. So that's indicated here. The impersonalists only see the oneness. The Vaishnavas see the individuality. What is that? Na tvevaham jatu nasam na tvam neme janadipa. Na chaiva na bhavishama sarve vayamatapuram. Krishna said, my dear Arjun, you and I and all of these kings who've assembled at Kurukshetra existed in the past. There was never a time when we didn't exist. And we're all here now. And in the future, no time will come when we'll cease to be. That means that Krishna is affirming individuality. I and you and all of these kings. There's individuality there. And avikar yoyam, the soul is unchangeable. So if we're individual now, we're going to be individual forever. We don't change into something else. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching simultaneous oneness and difference. We're all one, and yet we're all individual. Prabhupada gives the argument, so suppose you have a guru, you know, Swami Anandananda, and he's teaching the oneness of all living beings. He's your own true self, you're his own true self, and all of that. So I can ask you a question. Is your Guruji perfectly realized? And you'll say, yes, my Guruji is completely self-realized. Well, if he's completely self-realized, then everybody else in the world should also be completely self-realized. Because there's no difference between him and anyone else. He's your one true self, you're his one true self. So as soon as he's self-realized, you're also self-realized. Because he's you and you're him. If there's absolute identity between all living beings, as soon as one of us attains moksha or liberation, all of us attain moksha. And in that case, why have you accepted him as your guru? You're on the same level he is. So this is the defect of their understanding. They understand something. We can give them some credit. They don't think you're this body. They don't think every living being is just an evolved, fancy material sequence of chemical reactions. No, they understand there's a spiritual nature common to all living beings. But they fail to see the individual nature of that spiritual force, and ultimately they fail to see that spiritual force is Krishna's energy. Mami vangsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. All living beings are part of me. They're not me. Although Krishna says, Jivanam sarva bhuteshu, I'm the living force within all living beings. He also says, Mami vangsha, they're parts of me. So there's simultaneous oneness and difference between Krishna and the living entity, or between every living entity and all the others. So this understanding is the understanding of the Vaishnavas. But those who are in the ordinary material mode of goodness at least are heading in that direction. They have that understanding that we are spiritual beings. We're not these bodies That's not unique to the Vaishnavas. We're not these bodies, we're spiritual. Aham Brahmasmi, I'm spirit. But they don't know their the eternal function of the spirit, the eternal occupation, engagement of the spirit in devotional service. That they're missing. They think that, well, they have so many misunderstandings. But the correct understanding we'll get from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right, we have some time. Are there some questions? Hare Krishna.
As you said that we are all mostly same.
Mostly?
We are all same. We have same energies.
Yeah.
We have same everything going on in our body and everything. But the nature of each and everyone is different. So can you explain why the nature is different of each and everyone?
No, actually nature is the same. But it only appears different because we've, Prabhupada said, become infected by three modes of nature. So it appears that someone is dull and someone is brilliant and someone is full of aspirations and drive. That's because of the modes of nature that they've become associated with. In the Shastra, in the Vedas, it said, Asango hiya yam purusha. The living entity has no connection with the material nature. Asanga. Sangha means there's no real association. We have no connection with material nature. But when we identify with material nature, then we become infected by these three modes. Then it seems that someone's a genius, someone's a fool, someone's a rabbit, someone's a dog. But actually our spiritual nature is all of one nature.
You just mentioned
Close.
You give a very nice example. Sometimes saying that if your guru is, when we preach, your guru is self-realized, then you should also be self-realized. But we were talking about self-realization. In one of my travels, I just met couple of friends and we were talking. And I was glorifying Srila Prabhupada. And I mentioned Srila Prabhupada is absolutely, perfectly self-realized. So in that, I know that we are affected by modes of nature. But still, how do we conquer that example, saying that if, because we are all followers of Srila Prabhupada ultimately, whatever guru we may have. So then in that case, how are we supposed to see that if our Param Guru Srila Prabhupada is perfectly self-realized, how do we conquer that statement with the example you gave?
There's a difference. If your teacher is perfectly conversant with physics, as his student, are you perfectly conversant with physics? No. You can be. If you continue to learn from your teacher, you may also become perfectly conversant in physics. But not that you enter the school and you say, now I have a teacher who's perfect in physics, so I'm also perfect in physics. That's not. But their argument is that there's absolutely no difference between any one soul and another. It's only by illusion that there appears to be this difference. And the guru's not an illusion, is he? So if he's not an illusion and you're one with him, you shouldn't be an illusion either. If he's perfect, you must be perfect because there's no difference between you and him. That's different from saying, as we do, that he's our guru, we're his students. He's self-realized, we're not self-realized. He's in knowledge, we're in ignorance. We're hoping that by following him, we'll get freed from ignorance and we'll also get knowledge. Of course, they'll also say that we get knowledge by the grace of our guru, but why? If you're him and he's you,
Hare
says that all living entities are the same spiritual nature. And we know that if we've got ants, and then if we keep the place clean, then we can keep the ants away, we don't have to kill them. But when it comes to gardening, we have to take weeds out, and we have to kill them. So, is it enough to just say Hare Krishna now?
Yeah, what can you do? Jiva jivasya jivanam. One living entity is living at the expense of other living entities. It's unavoidable.
But we know we're making them suffer.
Yeah, that's the therefore, in the Vedic system, you have to perform Panchashuna Yagya, 5 kinds of yagyas. Because if you pick up a glass of water and put it down, you've killed so many living entities. If you light a fire to bake your bread, you've killed so many living entities. If you've walked on the grass, you've killed so many living entities. So to atone for all of this carnage, one has to perform these yagyas. Of course, our yagya, we perform Sankirtan yagya, that includes everything. But we recognize that by our very existence, we're causing trouble to others. What is that? Adibhotic miseries. We are subject to adibhotic miseries caused by other living entities. The flip side of that is that we're the cause of miseries for them. As these other living entities, mosquitoes and viruses and lions and tigers and bears, cause trouble for us, we cause suffering for them. But this is the nature of the material world. One living entity causes suffering for other living entities. Prabhupada gave the example that in his class, in school, if the children were misbehaving during the class, then the 2 students misbehaving would be called to the front of the class. One student would have to get to hold the earlobe of the other student and vice versa. And then the student would say, now pull. So then each causes trouble for the other. Yes, behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Are there any examples, even the Prabhupada, regarding Tattvamasi? How to understand
Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi means you're also that. Krishna is spirit, you're also spirit. Krishna is eternal, you're also eternal. Krishna has knowledge, you also have knowledge. Krishna is blissful by nature, you're also. Soham asmi in the Ishopanishad. You're also like that, in quality. Like gold, the little gold ornament is the same as the total stock of gold, but it doesn't have the same value because it's only a tiny portion, but it's of the same quality. Prabhupada also gives I'd say it's a clever argument in Bhagavad-Gita. He says that Tattvamasi means that one becomes liberated by saying to Krishna, you are that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tvam, you. Usually the impersonalists take it, tat, that, tvam, asi, you are that. So Prabhupada says, you are that. Krishna, you're that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes.
Looking at the point from a collective point of view, could you explain why, like you explained right at the beginning of the talk, almost like a scientific worldview where society doesn't make a distinction between the body and the actual living force within a living being. So there's no difference, basically they see no difference between the body and the living being. So can you explain the problem that, because we live in a world where you have like an agnostic state as different political philosophies trying to form equality in society based on bodily distinction. Why can't that happen without them coming to this platform?
Because it's foolish. Make me equal to Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champion of the world. I'm going to be the heavyweight champion of the world. When you need somebody to do heavy lifting. You come after me, like 120 pounds? Or do you come looking for, somebody big and strong? The bodies are different. Bodies are totally different, Men don't make good mothers, vice versa for women. The whole thing, everybody's body is different. Some have better brains, some are slow, some are this, some are that. Equality is all rubbish materially. The idea that we're all somehow equal. The Soviet Union, that was their idea, all the comrades are equal. But some comrades were sweeping the street and some were teaching in the universities. You can't get material equality. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And they try these different movements, but they don't really work. And even on the theoretical platform, they don't make sense. So the women's movement, the women will be equal to men. It's just like, yes, but. It's all yes, but. But on the spiritual platform, there's no difference. We look at it and say, what's a woman? It's just a spirit soul with a different body. What's a man? It's a spirit soul with a different body. What's an elephant? What's a dog? What's a dog eater? They're just the same thing with a different wrapper. So, and we're not so concerned with the wrapper, we're concerned with the person. And we see that, different wrappers will do different things, different bodies will serve different purposes, but the same spiritual nature is there in all living beings. There's your equality. And Krishna says all living beings can come to me. It doesn't matter. Striya, Shudra, Tata, Vaishya, everybody. So there's your equality. Everybody, Krishna, you're a monkey, you can serve Krishna. They're Krishna's, some of his best friends are, some of my best friends are monkeys. So Krishna welcomes everyone to take part in his pastimes, to come to the spiritual world. There's no material distinction considered. There's your equality. But the idea that we're going to establish, absolute material equality is just stupid. It's just stupid. And they fall all over themselves doing it. There's a company that makes the software that runs my computer. Their CEO at one point said that, we have a big imbalance between women and men in our company. So we want to set that, we want to have what in America we call affirmative action. We want to make it more even. Elsewhere she said, we want to have the best people working for our organization. Without consideration of anything else, we want to have, the smartest, the best. Well, those are not compatible. Most of your graduates in IT are not women. So if you really want to have an equal number of men and women, you're going to have to reject all sorts of qualified men, probably some more qualified men, for the sake of your, hitting your target on numbers. It doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. But they fall all over themselves trying to make it work, and it doesn't. Everything they want, nobility, truth, virtue, happiness, on and on and on, justice. It's all there on the spiritual platform. If you want to stay on the material platform, you're not going to have it. Prabhupada said famously, they're United Nations, thieves dividing piously. It's not, they're on the material platform, dividing up the property as if it were theirs. It's not going to work. You have to acknowledge that it's Krishna's property. Then you have oneness. Then you have peace. So the same thing in every department. Is that okay? Yes?
Maharaj, there is this verse in Upanishad 6, Yastu Sarvani Bhutani, Advani Manupashati, Sarva Bhujisha Sarvanam Tatunaju Na Vidzugupsati. The meaning is that one who connects everything with Supreme, this is second one who sees that all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. And the second is third is that one who sees that Krishna is everything and every being does not hate anything. Tatona Vijayagopsati.
Tatona Vijayagopsati.
Yeah, Vijayagopsati means does not hate. Then what is the connection between this verse today?
Same thing.
What regarding knowledge and this hate, Vijayagopsati. Because once one hates, when there is hate, then these three conditions are no more there. And what is the connection between knowledge and
Yes, sarvabhuteshu chadmanam tatona vijagupsati. The one who sees that the same spirit is within everybody, or that the same Supreme Personality of Godhead is present along with the living entity in everybody, he doesn't hate anyone. Just like, if you see, like he's your brother, and they brotherhood. Well, brothers are brothers. We don't hate our brothers. We hate the other guys. But if you see everybody as brother, then, so where do you get that? When we have a common father. Or when you see that Krishna is present within everyone. Just like in our society, we have some everybody's serving Prabhupada. Well, okay. If you're not serving, like, the Bhavananda Prabhu was arrested in Mayapur in the midst of some turmoil. And the devotees went to the American consulate in Calcutta. And, the consul was a real American. So the first question, is he American? Yeah, he's American. Okay, if he's not American, we don't give a damn about him. If he's American, then, Because then there's a common relationship. Okay, he's American, we're in it together. So everyone has that, but that's just in relationship to one government or one piece of dirt. But the real relationship is the eternal spiritual one with Krishna. We all have a relationship with Krishna. Therefore, how can we hate? Does the right hand hate the left hand? Does this finger hate that finger? We're all servants of the same eternal personality of Godhead. Where's the question of hatred, of envy, or of any of these things? So when we come to the spiritual platform, otherwise on the material platform, everyone's envious. Everyone's desiring for himself, and everyone's envious. Prabhupada gives that example. You put a rock in the pool, and the circles come out, and you throw another rock, and the circles collide. But if you could throw all the rocks in exactly the same place, you'd have concentric circles. They'd be harmonious. So that center, that central point is Krishna. Yes?
Just a question before that. Prabhuji asked about equality and equality within men and women, and spoke about the material world, but there seems to be, or I've heard arguments within ISKCON where women feel that they should be called Prabhus, they should have equality. So even within a spiritual movement, where we know that we are not these bodies and so on, these things are happening, how do we marry that up with this verse here?
Well, if we were all perfectly self-realized, we wouldn't be worrying about this Prabhu or not Prabhu, or equal treatment or not equal treatment, because everybody would be appropriately respected, everybody would be appropriately engaged, everybody would be satisfied. So because we're less than perfectly self-realized souls, we get, what would you say? We're less than satisfied and less than satisfactory. So one has to, so the spiritual movement means spiritual culture, spiritual understanding. Amanina, amanadena, everybody should be properly honored. And also no one should want honor. So both things are there. I don't need extra respect, but I give extra respect to everyone. That understanding. Things are complicated because we're living in Kali Yuga, where there's all these social currents whirling around us, and they affect even the worldviews of devotees. So these men think that because they're men, they're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Women resent it, and they think that there's hot stuff too, and everybody gets affected by material nature as soon as we forget Krishna, or as soon as we take our eyes off Krishna and put them someplace else. Is that okay?
It's very hard. Prabhupada said, it worries me a lot because I know Prabhupada said that our movement ISKCON can't be destroyed from outside. And this kind of things from within can cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, we have to see who's more capable of destroying the movement, the men or the women. Seems to be some competition in the matter. It's also a question of culture, because a perfectly cultured person will know how to treat everyone in the Prabhupada. Like Prabhupada, he's the one who said all these terribly sexist things, and yet all the women were, very happy with him, because it wasn't vicious, it wasn't vindictive, it wasn't a sign of disfavor or of contempt or disdain. It was just an observation in terms of how the material nature works. It's an observation about the machinery. Everybody's got a different yantra, and the yantras are not the same. So there are different characteristics that men have, that women have. But what's it to you? You're not this body. So Prabhupada not only knew that theoretically, but knew how to act in such a way that everyone was pleased. There's an art to that, how to please others. And there's the opposite art, how to make everybody peeved with you, how to tick off everyone. Sometimes deliberately or sometimes inadvertently. But a cultured person will know how to treat everyone in such a way that everyone feels encouraged, everyone feels enlivened in devotional service. So it's not just a question of theoretical knowledge, but then it's knowledge and practice, which amounts to culture. It amounts to culture, which can be subtle. I've given this example many times. Many of you know Dr. Radhakrishna at Chopati, and we were at Juhu one time, and there was an engagement in the evening. Several brahmacharis were going, and other devotees, and I was going. So he came up to my room and said, "Maharaj, whenever you want to go, the car is ready." Simple message. Whenever you want to go, the car is ready. So what did that mean? It means that everybody's in the car and we're just waiting for you. Which in America is what we would have said. Maharaj, everybody's down in the car, we're just waiting for you. It's like, how much longer are you going to be and all that. But Dr. Radhakrishna said, Maharaj, whenever you're willing to go, the car is ready. So this is called culture.
But also if someone demands respect, for example, and then you are annoyed by that and fighting against it, you're on the same level.
Yeah.
It's like,
You're,
what's the difference?
Yeah, that's there, right? You're
Because if you don't
partners
have
in.
that in you, the same thing, you will be like, oh, take the respect, Why not?
Yeah.
If you are equal to everyone, why not? Why can't I respect everyone? Lower, higher, if it's my level.
Yeah.
I'll have no problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah, someone mistreats us and then we get ticked off. It's like, who do you think you are? And then it goes back, well, I'll tell you who I think I am. Well, who do you think you are? Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Trinadapi Suni Chaina Turodapi Sihishna.
I mean, there are situations when something should be done.
Yeah.
But usually it's done, we can delegate it to someone who can really, an authority or someone loving next to that person, you know, for the better cause. But otherwise, just take the respect. Why not?
Yeah, we're quick to get ticked off, aren't we?
Yeah, very quick.
And then we form, you know, the alliance of ticked off persons, and
Feel like there are people who criticize, and then there are other people who criticize those who criticize.
yeah.
So it's like just doesn't change anything.
Vadinam Vai. What is that verse? Samvadam in 4th canto. The Kumaras say, I offer my obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which different philosophers sometimes agree with one another, sometimes disagree with one another, and all the time forget who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
Should we stop here? Are there any other? You have one more.
Thank you for telling the light on this verse. And I had a doubt, about when you mentioned the soul is undivided in everyone the same. And then I remembered one place where Krishna says that is consciousness in all living beings. And so, is it consciousness or is it the soul? But sometimes we say that consciousness is a symptom of the soul.
Consciousness and soul are identical, but we think of consciousness as sort of all-pervading, amorphous, impersonal, but consciousness is always associated with a person. We speak of consciousness, we say, whose consciousness? Your consciousness, my consciousness, Krishna's consciousness? There's no just disembodied, or of course there's disembodied in the sense of not materially embodied, but there's no such thing as just, what's the word? Dissociated consciousness, just consciousness like fog, moving across the sky, consciousness that's just disconnected from everything else. It's always somebody's consciousness. Mine or yours or Krishna's. Is that okay? It's the same substance. My consciousness and your consciousness are the same by nature, but it doesn't mean that if you have a pain in your foot, I feel it. Right? Or fire is the same, but the fire emanating from the fireplace and the fire emanating from something else, from the cooking stove, are not the same. It's not the same fire. It's the same fire. No difference between the fire in the stove and the fire in the fireplace. But one is heating your room, the other is cooking your lunch. They're the same by nature, but they're separated. Of course, there you could throw it together and this and that, but the soul is eternally individual. Soul is eternally individual.
So then when the Mataji was asking, pulling out the weeds, so we also say that these plants and other things, they have very low covered consciousness, so when we take them out, they are not that conscious somehow, but they still have the same soul or same...
They have, the weed has a soul.
The weed
has a soul, sure. Therefore it appears, it grows, it stays for some time, it has byproduct weeds, it dwindles, it dies. These are signs of the living force. So ideally, we would like to not have to kill even a weed, even an ant, but in the material world, one living entity is the life of the other, one living entity is the death of others. What can be done? This is the kind of world we live in. You want to live, you have to make others die. But we try to minimize that, but you can't, like the Jains, they're wearing masks and they're trying to avoid, but even they can't totally avoid killing microbes and what have you, despite their best efforts. Okay. Shall we end here? Yes, we shall. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.